Okay, ladies and gents, welcome back, or welcome, good evening. It's yet another late night meeting between you, me and Timna. Tonight's topic is advertising. That was her, by the way. I find it really funny that there's always two different people in like the insert and the thing, but anyway, that was her. Those of you who have been with me or with us in the past know how the whole thing's gonna work. I put together 2 question papers on advertising, again trying to cover as many aspects as possible. I'll quickly talk you through the first task. We're gonna have a quick look at it. So yeah, as always, the headline only gives you the broad topic, like the umbrella term. You talk about your career, future plans, and so on and so forth. Timna will have to create an identity, so she'll be a fake person. And this fake person has business management classes, and you've been talking a lot about marketing strategies and about the benefits of advertising because, well, advertising is everywhere. There is commercials, billboards, whatever, all over the place. There must be a reason for that. So what are the benefits of advertising? Why do companies waste that much money on advertising? Why are we so susceptible to advertising? Like, why do we buy all the stuff that advertising tells us to buy? She needed a presentation for English, and she's the expert on advertising, so she decided to just, talk about it in English as well, not only in business class. In the monologue part, so where only she's talking, I want the advantages of advertising for the customers and for the companies. So why is advertising good for us? Why is advertising good for the companies or for the people who offer a certain kind of service? Why do they invest huge amounts of money into advertising? The value of advertising for the Austrian economy. So why is it good for the economy? Maybe one of the very few knowledge questions that there is in the whole exam. So people say that without advertising, the whole wheel of investing and spending money wouldn't work properly. And of course, the favorite TV commercial, we all have that. Bear in mind that what you see on television are TV commercials, not TV ads, really. That's anything, you probably won't fail the exam if you say TV ad, but stuff you see on television are commercials. And then we talk about some strategies, some drawbacks of advertising, of course, where there are pros, there's cons as well. The influence that advertising has on people. You can also think about the question whether or not you as a consumer would be susceptible for advertising. Like in the second exam, we'll see a picture of Cristiano Ronaldo advertising some super expensive watch. I think it's a Swiss one. Would that be something that impresses you? Something that, kind of gets you going? Something where you say, well, yeah, I'd want this watch if I could afford it. Don't think that Cristiano Ronaldo advertises €100 watches. But in any case, that's something for you to think about. And the follow-up discussions that I can't scroll through really. There's also a text. You get the link. It's about what advertising does to the people.
For some reason we don't have a live chat today,
so we don't have a live chat.
But you can see it then in the video description afterwards.
Sounds like a plan. So, I don't know if you've heard her, there is no live chat, which you may have noticed. Well, you can, have a look at it and do a quick Google search. Psychology Today, one of my favorite sources, they do text about pretty much anything, like all the topics that there are in the world. What does advertising do? You'll be able to find it in any case. Are you ready?
I am. Shall I appear?
Appear, please.
Am I? Yes. Hello.
That's her. That's the girl in the picture who was wearing that big massive winter jumper. Now it has about 40 degrees in here. Yeah. Anyway, you are here tonight for your English exams, I've heard. Well, so am I. Would you mind introducing yourself to our audience and to our exam board?
Of course. My name is Timna. and I am a butcher, actually.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting choice of job. How come? Like.
Well, actually, my dad is a butcher, and the whole family is kind of a long line of butchers, and so I really enjoyed the prospect of that kind of job, and so I took it over. Or actually, right now I'm working together with my dad.
Okay, but you're planning on taking it over.
Exactly.
That's what the plan is.
Exactly.
Why the A-levels then?
Well, just because I want to take over the shop one day, and for that I feel like I would like to have some more business knowledge or some more kind of general how to keep a shop up knowledge. So that's why I maybe would like to do some courses at university, or we'll see about that, and that's why I want to do the A-levels.
So I guess the whole task fits the point, because you, in your business class, got a lot of inspiration about advertising.
Yeah.
And having a shop and advertising kind of makes sense. I suppose that not even meat sells itself without marketing, so you'll have to do that in the future.
Exactly.
So why is, like, I basically gave you the first clue kind of thing. You need advertising for, like, marketing stuff.
Yes.
But why else is it good? Like, what is the advantage, or what are the advantages of advertising?
Well, usually people only think negatively about advertising commercials, because they kind of just get on your nerves and you don't really listen to them. But actually they do have some positive aspects to them. So for a company, of course, it's advertising their products is really good, because they can show the consumers what kind of products they have, what they can do, how they're better than other products, and so on and so forth. And that's just describe the products, and that's how consumers then can find out about new products, about what kind of thing they might want to buy next, which can also be positive for a consumer, because if I think, I don't know, I need a new washing detergent and I can't really decide, and I see a good ad for it, then I think, oh well, maybe I'll just buy that and try that out. So it does have some positive aspects for both sides, even if we usually kind of just get annoyed by them. But they do, inform us about what is out there and what will be out there soon. Especially in Austria, I feel like there's lots of advertisement, and companies do really find it very important to advertise their products, and there's lots of big Austrian, or some big Austrian companies, like the one with the energy drink, that does do quite funny ads. And that's, I think, one thing that personally I enjoy a lot, when an ad is very funny or interesting, or there's a story behind it. Those kind of ads always make me, think about the product more, or even just think about the story, and then I automatically think about the product. So those are kind of my favorite ads in general, or favorite commercials in general. I can't really think of one in particular right now, but they do come up now and then, especially I feel like around Christmas time, when companies, get really emotional in their commercials. But yeah, those are the kinds of ads I really like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd be a fan of the Coke train then? It comes up every Christmas.
I love it.
And everyone sort of likes the Coke train.
I always download the song then. There's always a kind of special song they have, and then I'm hooked.
Okay, well, yeah, I can kind of see why. Like, I think the Coke train commercials are really good. I don't really drink Coke, but so that wouldn't make me buy it. But I still, at the end of the day, like the ad. Because we were talking about the Austrian economy, does the place that I don't know where you're from, but does the place that you come from, do they like kind of advertise that place, you know, make it a tourist thing, which would then be good for the economy?
Yes, I mean, there is advertising for Tyrol, so for the whole bigger region where we live. There's lots of advertisement, I feel like, especially in cinemas. They always have interesting commercials that kind of get stuck in your mind. But I think, although I live in a place where there's lots of tourists, or quite a few tourists, because we have the Swarovski factory, they don't really advertise. They don't really have a lot of commercials for themselves. Interestingly, maybe they don't need them.
Well, maybe sort of it just basically sells itself kind of thing. Probably one of those things that just, you know, goes down well without having to be advertised. So you mentioned good things about advertising, especially the point that we as consumers, of course, have to know what is out there. Otherwise, we wouldn't really. Do you see any negative sides as well? Like, is there anything bad about advertising?
Well, I feel like we usually don't think about how much influence an ad has on us, really. We usually think, oh, I'm not really looking at that anyway, I'm not really listening to that anyway. But you are, and it has so much influence on your mind, and you kind of get the company kind of, I don't know, tells you to buy something and you're not even really aware of that. So that's just something that's a bit creepy sometimes, or can seem a bit creepy sometimes. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, of course, you can always make an advertisement for a product that's not really that great, as it says, which is quite often the case, or sometimes the case, so that can be a negative point as well.
What happens when the infamous advertising breaks come up on television? Like, what do you do if you're watching German, like, tendentially it's the German TV channels that have advertising commercial breaks? What happens? What do you do? Like, do you just watch it because you have to and they're too lazy to switch channel, or?
Well, yeah, sometimes I switch channel if I'm not too lazy for that. Or if I'm not too lazy either, I don't know, go to the loo or get a drink, or, you know, go brush my teeth if it's the evening, because then I know I'm gonna fall asleep anyway until the next
that makes sense.
ad break. So yeah, it depends really.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, I usually just watch them kind of thing while checking, you know,
exactly.
the phone and so on and so forth.
Usually happens.
It's usually like changing the channel isn't worth the effort because there's advertising on most of them simultaneously, kind of thing. So it's not worth it. True. In Austria, you're not allowed to advertise alcohol and cigarettes, for as far as I know, or no strong alcohol at least.
True. Yeah.
Or at least not during prime time, let's put it that way.
I think I know kind of about Aperol Spritz ads and so on, but nothing like really...
Like the hard stuff. Do you think that's good? Like, other countries have advertisements for cigarettes, for example. I
think that's good. I mean, if we would then adjust our laws to that and not sell or not sell so much cigarettes, alcohol and so on, which right now it's going in another direction, but hey. That would be good, but yeah, I think that's a good thing, because if it's bad for you, why I don't know.
Why advertise it? Some, like, that's taking it one step further, but countries like Sweden, for example, they don't allow advertisements for computer games, for example, because they say, well, yeah, if my 10-year kid sees computer games at that early, like, well, is that a good thing?
Well, you kind of have to think about where where to stop with those kind of bans, because if you think about advertising fast food, it's the same thing. Like, if kids see fast food, they want to eat fast food, and it's not good for them either. So it's kind of hard to say where the stopping point
Ouais.
is there.
Ouais. Fast food was a good keyword. If you see a McDonald's ad, does that kind of tempt you into, I just wanted to say walking into the next drive-in, but that's not what you do, driving into the next drive-in?
Sometimes, I mean, especially because the burgers always look so good, but then you know that they're not gonna look the way they do in the ad. So sometimes it does, but not always. Especially, I feel like McDonald's is more the kind of place you go to like at night when you're kind of hungry and you went somewhere and now you want a snack and then you go to McDonald's.
Well, that makes sense.
Doesn't really have a lot to do with the ad.
Do you have a weak spot in terms of advertising, like one product range where you say, well, the advertising usually works on me? Like, I don't know, some people have that with, I don't know, creams or nail polish or whatever, or soccer shoes. Boys usually have that with soccer shoes, or the boys I know at least.
Yeah, maybe like cosmetics, makeup, something like that. But then again, I don't really watch that much TV, so I don't see that many commercials anyway.
So you're kind of safe.
Yeah, I think so. How about you?
Well, I have like a standard range of stuff that I always buy, and everything else is kind of like nice, but I don't watch that much television either, but then I think it's hard to escape.
But you still see ads like everywhere, basically.
That's the thing, and you also get it at home, like, you know, all those kind of junk mail stuff that you never asked for.
My post box is usually 80% like junk,
like rubbish.
I just throw away, and I need to buy one of those stickers that says.
Do they help?
No,
like,
I don't know, but maybe
it would save so. It would save so much paper, and it would save so many trees somewhere down there in the Amazonas. But yeah, nobody cares about the environment nowadays. No. Yeah, I think that was it. I know everything that I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you need that, or do you?
I don't really. No. Good. Very quickly, a quick recap of what she did. Well, there is not that much. Like, there's no criticism to be raised, really. The one thing that I wanted to say is that, especially in the beginning, because sometimes people find it quite hard to, like, adapt to their roles, really, because they find it hard to, like, talk about themselves in the beginning, because you would be asked about your future career, like your real future career, your real future plans, and so on and so forth, and suddenly you have to play a role. You might be someone totally different, like sometimes the role doesn't fit you really, so you might be, I don't know, the CEO of, I don't know, some big English company, and you'd have to hold a presentation in English about, I don't know, presentation skills, whatever. So you're suddenly adapting to, or you suddenly have to adapt to a role. One of the easiest things is just to listen very carefully to your interlocutor, and they'd always let you know when you have to change the role, like, and then just simply react to what they say. So it was easy in her case because I don't know if she did it deliberately or not, but her choice of like fake identity was very well chosen, because having a known business kind of means you have to do advertising, which kind of makes sense, which gave me a very good starting point, and then it gave her a good starting point as well. Might not work out that way in the exam, because, you know, for you it just, the situation might be different. Listen carefully to what the interlocutor says. He or she will definitely give you some kind of hint, saying, well, you know, and now in your, like my tasks, it talks about business classes. Now in your business management classes you have, so that's the point from where, like from where to start, and that's the point from when onwards you know that, or from which onwards you know that you are now in the role, and that you are not your real person anymore. As I said, this starting point was maybe even a bit too smooth, because, as I said, she chose wisely. Let's see what she does in the second exam. I'll show... Oh no, I don't show you anything because I haven't opened it. Second exam looks similar, but has a few more pictures. So the focus in the first exam was on advertising drawbacks and benefits, advertising in general. The second exam on advertising is basically about advertising strategies, which I find easier really because, you know, we're all confronted with so many ads that we kind of know what strategy there is behind it, even though we've maybe never really learned like the correct term for it, but we kind of know why, you know, if we see an advertisement with a very like fluffy, some kind of animal kind of stuff, then we know that it's actually the cuteness of the animal that should appeal to the target audience, and that's what the strategy is. So we kind of know that, and intuitively we'd always be able to like make the connection. In any case, the situation is very similar because advertising and business classes just lend themselves perfectly for like a topic. You liked the topic and you decided to deal with it more closely. You put together a presentation for your English class because you think that they don't know anything about advertising, and you do. The task is somewhat to know different advertising strategies that they're all in your books. There's a whole list of like different advertising strategies. So you have, I don't know, the fluffy animals that I mentioned, they are in the ad for a good reason. There's celebrities, there is slogans like what's the one that Manna mag man eben. That's an alliteration, MMM, Manna mag man eben. Almost everyone can, the Mars one, Mars macht mobil, yeah, that one.
Yeah, true.
Or nowadays the ad that Snickers does, that's, you know, the diva thing. It's not an alliteration, it's not like a rhetoric device, it's not a stilmittel as such, but it is something that nowadays everyone remembers. Like as soon as we hear Snickers, we think about the diva, and people are changing into like from girls into boys in like the lockers of a football stadium, I think it is, and so on and so forth. So that would all be strategies that you'll have to explain to me. Why is social media marketing so important, or is it? What is social media marketing in the first place? What is product placement? There's one classic example of like huge success of product placement out there. I will tell you later in case she doesn't, because it lends itself as a perfect example for the success of product placement, or the importance of product placement. Then we talk about some advertising strategies in more detail. So we have those very nice pictures. I just noticed that in most of my exams there's football players featuring, so you can kind of, you probably know what one of my favorite sports, at least to watch, is. So here we have Cristiano Ronaldo advertising a watch. I can't read it, I don't know if it's Swiss or Italian in any case. Then we have a bear. Here it's also important what the text is, so it's not only about the visual and the product that is being advertised, but also like the wording, the vocab that the ad uses. One of my favorite ads in the world is the Coke girls. I love them. They're like puppets on a string dancing to some very fancy tune. Unfortunately, I can't show you the tune, or I can't make you hear the tunes. As I said, they're puppets. You can't see it here, but they are actually puppets on a string, and they are all like, they love Coke and they have a lot of fun. They're working in an office together. That's the storyline behind it. And well, Coke Light gives them, or Diet Coke gives them the greatest time of their lives. The last ad is in German, and it is a pun, obviously. Voll die Flaschen, aber gut in Bier is a pun on like a lot of things. Also, it does look quite healthy. So yeah, that's for her to analyze then. And then of course there's a text about the 13 most commonly used advertising strategies. You have that as a link somewhere later because we don't have a live chat. And of course we have to discuss it, like some roundup questions. Are you ready?
I am.
Good. So,
Hello.
welcome back.
Thank you.
hasn't changed a bit, has she? um, so again, you're here for your exam.
Yes, I am.
Glad to have you. Would you mind telling me who you are and why you're here? We know what you're here for, but
of course,
why you're here?
My name is Susie, and I am in work in management.
Okay.
And yeah, and so it's just for kind of having better job opportunities and finding jobs more easily. I'd like to have my A levels because, of course, they look very good in the
CV.
Yes, in my CV.
That one.
Sorry, thank you.
Do you need English for your job? Like management sounds like a position where you just have to speak English.
It doesn't hurt to know English, definitely.
Well, it never does.
No.
As you may have realized, I'm a big fan of my language. Anyway, so because you're working in management, business management classes are, well, basically a piece of cake for you. Now you thought that also the rest of your class should kind of benefit from the knowledge that you have.
Exactly.
And you know a lot about You know a lot about advertising strategies, I've heard.
Well, yes, that's something that's very interesting to me because there's so many different strategies that companies use or people use to advertise their products, and that's something we don't really think about mostly. So there's, for example, many companies use celebrities to endorse their products with. So if you see, I don't know, a very famous actor or you know, just someone you know from TV using a product or talking about a product, and you kind of think, oh, that must be good, I want to try that. And that's what the companies usually count on. And there's also companies that just advertise by telling you facts and figures and just straight up telling you, okay, that's how it is, and that's why our product is so successful. And that can work as well. Or some ads work with stories, so with really emotional or funny or interesting stories, which there's a big kind of target group for that as well, because it really stays in your mind, even if there's like a good song or a funny song in the background, you also kind of that gets stuck in your head. Same thing goes for animations, cute animals, babies, everything like that. It's just something that we really speak to usually. Yeah, so as you can see, there's lots and lots of different types of ads and advertising strategies. What is very important in the advertising world recently, or in the last few years, has been social media marketing. Especially working together with so-called influencers, who, you know, people who are famous on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, I don't know, who partner up with brands and talk about their products, use their products, because people really trust them. And people think that, okay, if this person tells me to buy this, then it must be good, I'm going to buy it. Similar to the celebrity thing, although I feel like it works even better because you usually feel like you know these people better because they show more of themselves. But yeah, social media marketing in general is really important because there's such a wide audience, there's so many people looking at that and so many different people. So that's something that's really, really, really important nowadays. Just as important as product placement, actually. So in recent years, more and more, if you're watching a film, you sometimes realize, oh, there's a product there that kind of is getting shown again and again and again. Is that something, you know, sometimes they can hide it a little bit better, and sometimes they just full-blown hold it into your face. And that's something that's a really good trick, actually, because that way you kind of associate this product with this good film or wherever it's shown. I don't know, a TV show. And that way you think about that and you go to the store and just automatically kind of buy it. So that's something that's really quite a clever way of advertising your products without annoying you
as obviously as normal marketing does.
Yeah, so that's really what the main things that are important about advertising are nowadays. Do you have any questions about that?
Well, the only thing that I would want to know from you is the whole, or like you talked about social media marketing, and you said people who are being called or who label themselves as like influencers. Would that work on you? If like I think it's very popular in the lifestyle business, isn't it? If they tell you about the advantages of a certain kind of fitness product or a certain kind of fitness shake or whatever, would that be something that you...
It depends on the person. So I watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Okay.
And if you do that, then you feel like you know, or at some point you feel like you know quite a lot about the person that's posting these videos, because they just talk so much about themselves and kind of show, or you think that they're showing you a lot about themselves. Maybe that's really that's really in their control. Like, you don't know how much they're really showing, but you think so, and that's why I do sometimes buy products that are endorsed by influencers, so-called influencers. But yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So social media marketing would hit home with you, basically.
Does work, yeah.
If you have a look at the pictures,
yes.
Like only looking at them, which is the ad that you find most attractive, like style-wise or like layout-wise? Which one do you think is the one that is most cleverly done? Or
I feel like, to me, also the Coke ad is quite interesting, just because I kind of like the style of it, and I like the dance they're doing, and I can imagine that there's a catchy song in the background. That's something I really like watching.
So you would agree with me on the fact that the Coke ad?
Definitely.
Well, I generally think that there must be great people working in the advertising department of Coke. That's the one thing that they're really good at.
True.
And then I'm not a big Coke fan, as I already said.
But still, you can enjoy the ad.
Yeah, true. Like I think that they are doing a fantastic job. What about the one in German? What's the strategy behind the smoothie thing?
They, of course, came up with a quite funny, witty slogan that is going to get stuck in your head, and you're going to think about that, and then automatically kind of buy the smoothie. And that's also a really good strategy, even if, especially if you have like some kind of short, catchy slogan that people see and read immediately. They'll just think about that, right?
Oh, definitely, and I think it's quite cleverly done. To be fair, do you like the ad, like the aspect, like the way it looks, basically? Yeah, I think it's colorful, fun, reminds you of kind of summer and warmth, and that's what we all need right now. So. True. So yeah, I do like it. What about I actually thought it was toilet paper, but then it's kitchen roll. What about the fluffy ad? No, it doesn't. But then talking about toilet paper is maybe not, What about that? Like, why? What's the strategy behind that? There's a bear that is obviously fake holding a kitchen roll.
I'd say it's basically a really cute animation, and so that's the first point that comes to my head there, that people are going to think, oh, this is such a cute bear, and he's talking about this kitchen roll here. Then also, bears are thought to be fluffy, so that's why that kind of helps,
True.
And yeah, I'm not sure about the honest ads thing. I'm not sure what that kind of is about. Do you know that, or is that something that I'm missing out on? Or
I think it's only that. I think it's only a strategy to lend some more credibility to the whole thing, I suppose.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I think it's. I think the honest is just, I guess it's one of those words that just makes sense. Like,
what is honest about, like saying, okay, my kitchen roll is so fluffy.
Well,
But
you know.
okay.
But then I think there is this tendency nowadays to like explicitly say, like there's one, I don't know, I think it's for some kind of apple juice or something. There's
Yeah.
definitely an ad in German
I
as well
remember,
that says, well,
that says we're so honest that
Yeah.
it's just juice and something
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
so I
know
think
what
there's
you mean.
this tendency
True.
of like getting rid of like the stereotype
but
that's, you know.
That advert always makes me think like, is it really that honest? Like, do you really just have to say that? If I don't know.
Yeah, well.
Well, we don't
But yeah,
know,
I guess we live in a world where there is a lot of advertising going on. You have to do something that, you know, makes you outstanding.
Yeah.
Talking about outstanding, who do you think is the target group of ad number one? Like, we have Cristiano Ronaldo, by the way, in case.
Yeah. First of all, people who like Cristiano Ronaldo, people who like football, people who like men. So that's kind of the main thing. And then, of course, also people who, I don't know, are more into that kind of glamorous, luxurious lifestyle that lets you buy, I don't know, $1 million or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of watches.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good, or it's an interesting ad because, you know, people will definitely remember Cristiano Ronaldo was in that ad.
Yeah.
But then again, I feel like those kinds of ads are a bit pointless because there's not so many people that are going to actually buy the watch.
That's true.
It's more of a kind of ad for Cristiano Ronaldo. But hey.
But then I guess that's one of the things, like self-marketing is what
Exactly,
Cristiano Ronaldo definitely invented.
Yeah. 100%.
Totally. But do you see the point that a company would be willing to invest? Like if you said that it's not that many people buying it at the end of the day. Like,
Well, yeah.
why does the company invest? I'm pretty sure he doesn't do it for $10.
Of course,
like,
yeah.
You know.
Well, I guess people that can afford it are just kind of thinking, oh, hey, Cristiano Ronaldo wears a watch. So then if I wear it, I'm like, just as good looking as him, more or less. Something like that, maybe.
Yeah, probably. I think it's a lot about reputation, really.
Yeah.
Let's say, like of all the strategies that you've mentioned, let's say you'd have to, well, what would we advertise? Let's say you have to advertise a book, for example. You are great at writing and you published a novel. How would you advertise it? Like, what would you do? Of all?
I think I would do like a story, like, I don't know, where you follow somebody who's reading the book or giving the book to somebody else and something like that.
Okay.
Maybe something that's just kind of interesting storyline. That's the kind of ads I like.
That sounds like a good idea. Well then, I leave you to your book now, as you have the great plans of writing a book.
Thank you.
Thank you very much and good night.
Thank you.
Very nice. As I said, I always have the feeling that talks and exams that involve some kind of visuals usually work quite well. I think that's because we have something to hold on to and something to discuss. Puppets, fluffy toilet paper, kitchen roll, bears and smoothies definitely make like a good exam. One point that I wanted to add, because she did not mention it and I'm for a change am able to remember what I said beforehand. The example of product placement that kind of brought up the whole hype around product placement. I think it was a more or less unintentional one. I think it was like I had to do some research on it, and you all know James Bond, I suppose, and ever since Daniel Craig, is that his name? Yes. Ever since Daniel Craig took over the role as James Bond, the producers of James Bond, like the director, tried to modernize the story a little bit. So that's why he isn't drinking martinis anymore, and that's now where product placement comes in. James Bond started to drink Heineken. And
really?
Yes, and in especially the first two movies, I don't know about the other ones because I haven't seen them. but there's green Heineken bottles all over the place.
I never realized that.
No?
No.
In Casino Royale, he walks up to, what's that the one? Yeah, anyway, he walks up to like this massive bar that is like, it's like a bottle bar, so it's only beer basically, and there's a big arrangement of Heinekens. So
That's so funny.
so that is probably one of the most successful examples of product placement. Yeah, it was one of like the examples that got the whole thing going, really, the whole product placement thing. So yeah, that was the example that I wanted to talk about. Everything else that I wanted her to talk about was there. This time there was a very, very even distribution, or like an even split in like the time that Timna dedicated to the 3 bullet points. You don't really have to, like you have to touch upon them in the previous exam. She basically kind of circumnavigated one of the points. I think it was the second one. She briefly talked about it, but not really, which is okay. This time there was like a couple of I don't know, almost a minute for all of the bullet points. So that was a very nice and even and equal distribution. Sometimes if you don't talk about a bullet point to like a sufficient extent, there will be questions from the interlocutors. So even if you decide in your preparation time to kind of leave one point out a bit because you don't feel like 100% safe talking about it, there might be questions, so make sure that you have an idea of all of them. Good. I think that was it for tonight. I hope that we could give you, or that we were able to give you some input on advertising. As I said, or I did mention that already in one of my previous streams, usually our exams are a bit longer than the 15 minutes that you have, but then that's because there's a lot of input in what she says, and maybe also some ideas in like my questions, like stuff that the interlocutors could ask. So time-wise, we are not, it's not very close to the original or to what the original thing will be like. But I hope that there was some input for you. And with these words, we wish you a good night and goodbye.